Yo, welcome back everybody to another video. I got something really exciting for you guys. Today we're going to be implementing video into our app. So whenever a user selects an anime, they will be able to see a video trailer of the anime. So for example, if I click on Trigun, we'll see a video that loads up right here. Now unfortunately, these trailers are only coming in from YouTube, and YouTube is very stringent upon letting users display their videos in app. But fortunately, I found a really cool package that allows you to do this, and we'll be able to display it. Now, however, there are some anime that just don't have trailers, like Boku no Beat. This one has nothing. So, for example, we're going to be displaying this error right here that says, unfortunately, no trailers available. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so we're going to be using this package right here. It's called React Native YouTube iframe. This is what's going to allow us to be able to grab the video from YouTube and display it into our app. So go ahead and click on the three hamburger icons down below and click on installation. And the first thing we need to do is install something called React Native WebView. Now initially out of the box, React Native has an ability to get WebView from the web and display it, but this just takes it one step further. So we have to install this package first and foremost. So inside of the app, I'm going to do npm I react-native-web view and go ahead and run that bad boy. Now since our app is already above 0.60, that's all we have to do. There are some extra steps if you have it below that, but we're not going to worry about it since we're not doing that at all. So after that, we need to install React Native WebView. React Native YouTube iframe. So go ahead and copy this command right here and go ahead and paste it into your terminal and run the command. Now, once you did do this, that is all you really need to do for Android. To set it up for iOS is a little bit trickier. All you have to do is go and press CD and CD into your iOS folder. From here, you have to run pod install, and then it's going to go ahead and install the entire dependencies that is missing. So I've already installed everything, so it's not going to install anything, but for you, it'll install the WebView and the iframe. Alrighty, so that's all the packages you really need. Let's go ahead and start working with bad boy, shall we? So I'm going to be mainly working the iOS emulator this time around, although the results are going to be the exact same no matter which emulator you use. So I'm going to CD out of my Android folder. I don't know why I was inside of it, but what we're going to do is we're going to run npx react-native run iOS. Now, I know I said I was going to run it. Before I run it, I have to refresh my previous terminal where I did npm start, just so I can grab the whole packages and everything. And so once it's ready, I'm going to run iOS and let it work its magic. Alrighty, so now what we're going to be doing is I'm going to minimize my terminal a little bit, just so we have some more breathing room. And we need to create a hook that is going to talk to the Gcn API and get us all of the data from that specific API, the specific anime that was selected. So this is the route that we have to call. We have to call Gcn before anime, the ID number of the anime, and full. So that'll give us the full detail of the anime. And we need to select something called trailer and then YouTube ID. Unfortunately, number 8 does not have it. So let's go and press number 1 and see if that has it. So send the request, and we see right there we have the YouTube ID. So we're going to call this API route right here, and yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file inside the hooks folder, and I'm going to call it, let's call it get selected anime info query.js. It's a mouthful right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy whatever we had in that previous query and put it inside of here, and we're just going to change up some information. So I'm going to change this to be get selected anime info. Let me make this smaller so we can see. There we go. So we're going to call this get selected anime info, use get selected. Let's make this a capital G. There we go. And now what we have to do is we need to find a way to actually receive the ID that was selected for that anime. So if we click on, let's say this first one right here is ID index number 1. So we want to receive that and return the data for that specific anime. So the way this is going to work is we're going to be calling this this function right here inside of our create selected anime file, and it's going to contain a parameter. So we're going to call that parameter ID. Now we have to take this ID and somehow pass it into this function, which is then going to pass it in the API and then return the data. So the way that we're going to do that is instead of the use query right here, firstly, we have to change the name of this, because if we don't, then it's going to get all boggly woggly and it's going to screw everything up. So I'm going to call it selected anime. So we have that query in place right there. And we have to convert this into a function call basically. So the way that that's going to look is we're going to do curly braces, arrow function, and inside of here we're going to pass in, ID like so. Now once we pass this in, we have it available and we need to pass it inside of this function now. And the way that we pass it inside of that function is going to be really simple. I'm just going to call ID right here like so. And then we have to pass it inside of that URL. And then we can just replace, I think it's, let me just double check what the URL was. Let's just go ahead and copy this really quickly. Paste it inside of this bad boy like so. And we're going to replace this with $ curly braces ID. And we're going to call these backticks right here. Convert them into backticks. And let's go ahead and change the name of this to be selected anime URL. And so now if we format it properly, this is what we got. So let me just quickly explain what's happening here. In this export const variable, we are calling to receive the data. We're actually passing it the ID for that selected anime that we selected. So for example, if you selected Cowboy Bebop, that's ID number 1. So it'll receive number 1 inside of here, and then it's going to call use query, and then inside of the use query we're running this function which we're passing the parameter ID into. And then we go into this function right here. So then we have the parameter ID right here. So we received it from use get all selected anime info, and then we take it and then we just put it inside of the get request right here. And then once we put inside the get request, we're just making a simple Axios call, and then returning the data that we get. And that's it. There's one little thing that I want to add to this query right here, is sometimes it may not refetch every single time whenever we go to new anime. I want to make sure that it does do that. So we're going to be making a curly brace object, and inside of here we're going to call something called refetch on connect, and we're going to do quotes, and we're going to call always. Perfect. So now we're done with calling the API and querying everything. Now we got to go back in the selected anime, and inside of here let's go ahead and start building this bad boy out. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import all the stuff that we need. We need a use state and a use callback. And after that, we need to import the YouTube player and the get info query, but those are really long imports, so I'm going to just automatically do it as we go along. So inside of my selected anime screen, I'm going to create a use state variable. So I'll do const playing and set playing is equal to use state. Initially, we'll do false, because whenever a user goes onto the actual screen, it should always not play automatically. After that, we're going to do const data is loading. Remember, this is exactly like we talked about last time with React query, is equal to use get selected anime info, and inside of here we're going to pass in the ID. So remember how last time we talked about how the hell are we going to get the ID? Well, it comes right from this variable right here. So we'll move it to the very top, and we're going to copy this bad boy, and then we're going to call mal_ID. And this is the ID for that specific anime. It's not going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be like 1, 2, 12, 15. Whatever that ID for that anime is, that's what it's going to be. That's it. Alright, so the next part is a little complicated. Just bear with me, follow along, and I'll try to explain as we go along what's happening. So underneath my final text right here, we're going to do curly braces, and we're going to create a ternary operator. This is going to be very similar to the first one that we made, where we checked, is it loading? If it's loading, then display the data. If there's no data, then display an error. So what we're going to do is we're going to call is loading, and then we're going to do question mark, and then instead of these smooth curly braces, if it's still loading, we're going to call text, and we'll just type in here loading ... Now let's say it's done loading, and let's say that there's data available. Well, in that case, if there's data available, we want to display something. So we're going to do view, and inside of the view, we need to check another ternary operator. So for this specific ternary operator, we need to check if there's a trailer available. So we're going to do data dot trailer dot YouTube underscore ID, and then we're going to do question mark inside the curly braces, and I'm going to just do the semicolons. So basically, in the first ternary operator, if there's a trailer available, we're going to display it. So I'm going to call in here YouTube iframe with a self-closing brace, and if there's no YouTube available, if there's no YouTube trailer available, we're just going to call some basic text that says no trailer available. And then once we're done with that, let's say there's no data available after it's done loading, then we need to display an error. So in that case, we're going to do the simple text that says whoopsie doopsies, no data available. Perfect. And so now we need to provide some props for this YouTube iframe. Alrighty, so the first prop that we need to do is we need to figure out the height and the width of this screen for the video player. So we're going to import something into React Native called dimensions, and this is basically what's going to allow us to be able to either detect the dimensions for the screen or the window. So above my styles right here, I'm going to create a new variable called const dimensions for screen is equal to dimensions dot get, and inside of here we're going to just give it screen. So now we have the dimensions for the screen stored in this variable, and I'm going to copy that and I'm going to give it inside of a prop inside of here. So firstly, I'm going to give it a height, and that's going to be equal to dimensions for screen dot let's not do it for height because that'll expand it all the way across the screen. So let's just give it a height of like 500, but for the actual width part, we'll give it the dimensions. So dimensions for screen dot width, and after that we need to give it something called play. So this prop is going to determine whether it's playing or not. So we're going to give it the useState variable of playing, and then we have to give it the video ID. Now fortunately, in Postman, this API thought of everything. It has a YouTube ID right here, which is stored right there, and that's all we have to call really. So all we have to do is data.trailer.youtube underscore ID, and then we need to check something. Well, before we check that, let's just go ahead and see if this actually works. So I'll save it, and we'll see that we have the Cowboy Bebop trailer right there. If we go into a different one, let's say Boku Dingy, we see that there's no trailer available, which is perfect. Let's go to Naruto. I hope there's a trailer. There's no trailer for Naruto? Are you kidding me? Okay, One Piece. And it's private. Well, that's unfortunate. Let's see what's not private. I know Neon Genesis Evangelion isn't. There we go. Okay, cool. That's a trailer for that. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and let's make some cool little theater for this. So like when you play it, it should basically make the screen darker automatically. And if you pause it, it should bring it back to white. Alrighty, so to accomplish that, we're going to use something called use callback. So let me just go ahead and display what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to create a variable called const on state changed is equal to use callback, and inside of here we're going to give it a parameter called state, and we're going to create a function. Inside of here we're going to make a couple of if statements. So we're going to do first if the state is equal to ended, then we're going to set playing to be false. Then if the state is equal to playing, then we're going to set playing to be true. And if state is equal to paused, we're going to set playing to be false. And then at the very bottom here, we need to add empty array blocks right there. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to copy this variable name right here, sorry, the function name, and I'm going to create a prop inside of here called on change state. And we're going to go ahead and paste it inside of here. And then after that, we need to, inside of the very parent view right here, we're going to call style, and we're going to say background color. So if the background color has been changed, depending on if the video is played or not. So playing, question mark. If playing is set to true, then we're going to set the background color to be black. If it's not, then we'll just do transparent, like so. And so now if we run it, here, before we do that, let me just go ahead and set height to be dimensions for screen dot height, and we'll do the width to be dimensions for screen dot width. There we go. Let me clean it up a bit. And so now if we run the video, we should hopefully see it turn black. Perfect. And let me go back. Let's find out a different trailer. I think this one has one. Nope. How about One Piece? Nope. Okay. We know Monster has one. Oh my god. Okay, Cowboy Bebop. That should definitely have one. Perfect. So now if I click play, it should automatically perfect. And there we go. And when I pause it, it does that too. And if we go to the very end, I'm going to go up to here. I'll pause the audio, and it should perfect. So now the theater mode is working. Cool. So that concludes this tutorial. In the next one, we'll be working with scroll view and displaying a whole lot more information regarding the anime. If you did like this, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.